Thank you. In Guelph. I'm happy to be here in Lloyd today with you, with Minister Hussen, and with Mayor Guthrie to talk about housing. Everyone in Canada deserves a safe and affordable place to call home. When people have access to the housing they need, our economy and our communities are healthier and stronger. And this is why our work to make housing more affordable and accessible is so essential. It's essential for people like Jatinder, who sent me a letter recently. He's looking for a home in BC, and his financial situation is tough these days. All he can find are unfinished basement suites for more than $2,000 a month. It's essential for families and seniors who struggle to pay their bills and for whom housing is a big part of their budget. It's essential for hardworking young people who are told that if only they ate fewer avocado toasts, they could afford to become new homeowners. Well, when it takes a family in Toronto 311 months to save for a down payment, and a family in Vancouver 342 months, that price tag for a house is just too high. We can all agree that the status quo is not working. Si on veut rendre le logement plus abordable, il faut en bâtir plus et plus rapidement. C'est un défi complexe, et les politiciens qui disent que la solution est simple sont irresponsables. This is not an issue one order of government can solve on its own. We need all three, municipal, provincial, and federal governments, pulling together with the private and non-profit sectors, using all the tools we have. Our government is here to help. We have a plan to double home building over the next decade for people at all income levels. And part of this plan is our $4 billion Housing Accelerator Fund. Right now, in our biggest cities, in many neighborhoods, it's very hard to build new homes. And it's especially hard to build affordable housing. Whether it's exclusionary zoning, slow permitting processes, or underdeveloped land, the policies in place in many cities are just not producing the housing we need. That needs to change, and that's where the Housing Accelerator Fund comes in. Today I want to share details of how this fund will help. The Housing Accelerator Fund will accelerate change and eliminate barriers to new housing supply. The federal government will directly fund municipalities that submit action plans for funding. The boldest plans, resulting in the most housing units, especially affordable units, will be rewarded. This fund will adapt to local housing needs. It'll be a flexible tool designed to help cities and communities unlock major new supplies of housing. For example, municipal action plans could include initiatives like updating permitting systems, tackling NIMBYism by introducing zoning reforms, or incentivizing transit-oriented development. We're funding these action plans to encourage municipalities to think bigger and bolder, to accelerate project approval timelines, to increase densification, to free up underused land, and to reduce construction costs. Put it simply, to build more faster. This is not a fund for luxury units or small changes already on the horizon. This is about transformational change. It's about addressing the housing challenges head-on. Le Fonds pour accélérer la construction de logements va permettre d'accélérer les changements et d'éliminer ce qui empêche d'augmenter l'offre de logements. Le gouvernement fédéral va verser des fonds directement aux municipalités qui vont soumettre un plan d'action pour obtenir du financement. Les plans les plus audacieux, qui mènent à la création du plus grand nombre de logements, particulièrement des logements abordables, vont recevoir du financement. Par exemple, les plans d'action des villes pourraient proposer des initiatives pour moderniser leur système d'octroi de permis, pour mettre en œuvre des réformes du zonage ou pour encourager le développement axé sur le transport en commun. Every municipality and community, no matter its size, is encouraged to apply, including Indigenous jurisdictions. Funding will be allocated based on the quality of municipal action plans. Just like with our bilateral deals on healthcare and childcare, our government will be focused on delivering results. Together, we will make a difference for Canadians. So today, my message to cities, towns, and Indigenous jurisdictions is this. We want to start receiving your action plans in June. So start working them as quickly as you can. Dig out those creative, bold ideas that's going to bring you to the next level on creating more housing quickly, whether it's zoning, whether it's densification, whether it's accelerating permitting or new systems to put in place. We need to keep building across this country. Aujourd'hui, mon message aux municipalités et aux territoires autochtones est le suivant. On veut recevoir vos plans d'action à partir du mois de juin, alors commencez à les préparer dès maintenant. With the Housing Accelerator Fund, our goal is to fast-track the creation of 100,000 new homes and units across Canada. It's part of our plan to double the construction of homes within the next decade, and the only way we can do this is working together. Addressing housing challenges is complex. No matter what Mr. Poilievre, the Conservative leader, is trying to sell you, there is no one simple solution. Picking fights and attacking mayors won't work. It's not a responsible solution. The federal government needs to work with mayors if we want to build more housing together, not against them, like Mr. Poilievre is suggesting. He has no responsible plan for the economy, and he certainly has no plan to invest in housing to make life more affordable for people. His only plan seems to be to make cuts to services and investments that will get housing built. That's not responsible leadership. What we need are responsible, multifaceted solutions. That's why our government has laid out a plan. First, to build more homes and increase supply with programs like the Housing Accelerator Fund. Second, to help people save for a down payment for their first home. And third, to fight speculation. Notre priorité, c'est de livrer les résultats. Par exemple, avec des programmes comme l'initiative pour la création rapide de logements, on est en voie de créer plus de 14 500 logements abordables neufs pour les gens vulnérables qui en ont besoin à travers le pays. I'm here today at Grace Gardens in Guelph, which was funded by the Rapid Housing Initiative. This building used to be a motel, and it's now being converted into apartments for people who are experiencing homelessness. The 32 units should be completed in 2 months. So I want to give a huge shout out to everyone who's been involved in this. Lloyd, who's always been there for the people of Guelph, fighting for them, standing up for progressive values in a way that's really made a huge difference. Mayor Cam Guthrie, Cam, your leadership, your commitment to housing, your commitment to building a stronger, more resilient community that has room for everyone to succeed, everyone to get what they need, has really been exceptional. It's been wonderful to watch everything that you've been doing here, and we're just so excited that we're going to be able to continue being here as an active partner in all the success you're building for people here in Guelph. I want to thank Minister Hussen, who's been on the forefront of fighting and building programs and solutions to make people able to access the homes that they need right across the country. I want to shout out the people at Stepping Stone who've been so instrumental in building the stronger communities and being there to support incredibly vulnerable people. I want to thank the construction workers here today as well. You guys are working hard to make sure that people get safe roofs over their heads to call home, and it's a huge part of building stronger communities and stronger economy that works for everyone. I really want to thank everyone involved in this important project, because every Canadian deserves a real and fair chance at success, and housing is at the heart of that promise. If we want our economy and our communities to thrive, cities should be able to attract and keep talent. Workers shouldn't have to commute long hours every day. Rent shouldn't eat up most of your paycheck. Vulnerable people shouldn't have to sleep in tents or in their cars. Making sure all Canadians have access to a safe and affordable place to call home will make everyone's lives better. Depuis 2015, on a fait beaucoup de progrès. On a aidé à construire, réparer et rénover des logements à travers le pays. On a aussi investi dans des refuges et des maisons de transition. We've made a lot of progress over the past years, but we know there's a lot more to get done. We must continue to do this work together as partners to build a country and an economy that works for all Canadians. With that, I'm very happy to pass it over to my friend, Minister Ahmed Hussen. Ahmed.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour à tous. Thank you so much, Prime Minister, for your words and for making this really important announcement. It's also great to be here in Guelph again with Mayor Guthrie and my good friend and hardworking Member of Parliament, Lloyd Longfield. Our government, indeed, Prime Minister, is committed to making sure that each and every Canadian has access to a safe and affordable place to call home that meets their particular housing needs. And I know that everyone joining here today shares this important goal. For decades, Canada's cities have been growing faster than their housing supply, creating a strong and growing demand for housing of all types. Simply put, we need more homes and we need them fast. That is why our government is taking bold action to address this challenge. Pour y parvenir, la collaboration est essentielle. Les provinces, les territoires, les villes, les villages, les communautés autochtones et les secteurs sans but, lucratifs et privés, doivent tous travailler pour construire les logements dont les Canadiens ont besoin. That is why this $4 billion Housing Accelerator Fund is a game changer, because it provides funding to local governments to speed up the development of housing, the approval of housing, and the delivery of housing, getting more homes built for Canadians and getting those homes built faster. Every level of government we know has a role to play in housing, and our government is responding with the Housing Accelerator Fund. It's about working together to remove the systemic barriers that prevent the faster approval and delivery of housing. When I've spoken to mayors and local leaders across the country, they've told me that they're facing real barriers to housing development. Barriers that they don't always have the resources to overcome due to fiscal capacity issues. We recognize that although many of these barriers are local, they cannot be overcome by local governments alone. And therefore, we're coming to the table to help as partners, and we're calling upon all local governments across the country to start developing ambitious action plans to submit to this Housing Accelerator Fund. This isn't a short-term solution. The Housing Accelerator Fund is about investing in systemic changes that will result in long-lasting impacts. The actions this fund will support will live beyond the fund itself and will continue to unlock new housing supply, including affordable housing, into the future. The Housing Accelerator Fund is one of many initiatives that our government has introduced as part of our ambitious and longly held plan for a national housing strategy, a plan that has grown from $40 billion to over $80 billion, and it is making a difference right across the country. Nous continuerons à travailler sans relâche avec nos partenaires locaux et nos partenaires en matière de logement, d'un océan à l'autre, pour investir dans des solutions qui changent la vie de ceux qui en ont le plus besoin. The Housing Accelerator Fund is a critical part of this effort, the effort that we're making to make sure that more homes are built faster for Canadians from coast to coast to coast. So I want to thank everyone for their important dedication to this important work. I want to thank the workers for providing Canadians with faster homes that are built with the dedication that you bring to the table. And I know that these homes will provide sanctuary and a place of stability for people to restart their lives and making sure that they thrive. And so when we invest in affordable housing, we're also investing in communities. We're also investing not only in the social and health, better social and health outcomes of Canadians, we're also investing in their hopes and dreams. And that begins with unlocking more supply of all types, and that is exactly what the Housing Accelerator Fund is all about. And with that, I want to bring to the floor Mayor Guthrie. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here, everyone, today, and especially to you, Prime Minister. One of the things that municipalities have been saying over and over again is we're looking for partners because it is, as the Prime Minister said, a complex issue. And here we are today with this announcement, with the Minister as well. We have a true partner at the table. And that partnership has been key, not just today, but actually leading up to today. Over many years, your government has been a partner for municipalities. And I really want to thank you so much for choosing Guelph to make this wonderful, wonderful announcement. And it's already been mentioned, we're standing in Grace Gardens here, 32 permanent supportive housing units. Again, another partnership with the federal government that is bringing this project to life. And our city cannot be more thankful. Thank you so much. To address this crisis, and it is a crisis, as I said, we need those partnerships. And I can tell you right now that with this fund, it is going to help not only cities like Guelph, but cities across our country. $4 billion is a wonderful, I'm going to call it a first tranche of money that we should have for building the housing that is needed. And it is all housing types, but especially for affordable housing as well. This is going to be a game changer. Our city just had to pledge with the provincial government to build 18,000 homes by 2031. And we have a commitment to trying to do our very best to make as many of those as possible affordable for people to be able to call a home for them. Now, you may think that this program that's being run by the government, by the federal government out to municipalities may look like it's process-driven, and we need that in municipalities. We need the system changes that this fund is going to provide for us. But the way I look at it is actually at the very, very end, and it's when a person or a family or someone who's homeless now has a roof over their head. And that's the outcome of such a program like what's being announced here today. And that's what we should all try to keep our minds on. The smiles of those families, the smiles of the refugee family that comes here and is looking for a safe and affordable place to live. This is exactly what this fund is going to help us with. This important announcement, as I said, helps us move forward on the pledge, and it recognizes clearly that this is an all-of-government approach. Thank you so much to the Prime Minister, to you, Minister, and to you, Lloyd, for your hard work across not only the country, but here in our city as well. It takes all of us. I'm very optimistic we'll get it done with programs and announcements like this today, because everyone deserves a safe and affordable place to call home. Thank you so much.
We will now start with the question and answer period. Nous allons maintenant commencer avec la période des questions. I'll turn it over to the first question. One question, one follow-up.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Simon Dingley from CBC. Welcome back to Southern Ontario, sir.
Glad to be back.
You chose a family friend for the special rapporteur job. Are you not concerned about allegations of bias? And given the reaction to Mr. Johnson's selection, is a public inquiry not inevitable?
I think, first of all, David Johnston has served this country in many, many different ways through a long and unimpeachable career. He served as our Governor General. He has served in many capacities, and the integrity and the character that he has demonstrated every step of the way is absolutely unimpeachable. When we are looking to someone who will always put the country first and put the interests of Canadians at the core of everything he does, there is no better name than David Johnston, which makes it so astonishing but also so clarifying to see the Conservative Party simply not interested in actually getting answers, in actually reassuring Canadians about our democracy, in actually finding out the truth of what's going on from experts. They are engaging in horrific, partisan attacks against a man of extraordinary integrity. And if everyone needed a really clear indication that partisanship is more important to Conservatives than actual facts and reality, their completely unfounded attacks on David Johnston are exactly that.
Comment en français pour Radio-Canada aussi, s'il vous plaît.
David Johnston est un homme qui a servi ce pays de façon extraordinaire toute sa vie. Il a été reconnu par des politiciens de tous les différents partis comme étant un homme de qualité et d'intégrité qui va et a toujours mis l'intérêt des Canadiens et le service à notre pays avant tout autre objectif dans sa vie. Et il y a énormément de Canadiens qui reconnaissent ça de façon profonde, l'intégrité de cet homme, et sans aucun doute. Que le Parti conservateur démontre aussi clairement qu'ils ne sont pas intéressés dans la défense de nos institutions, ne sont pas intéressés par l'intérêt et les inquiétudes des Canadiens, ne sont pas intéressés par les faits et ce qui s'est vraiment passé, ou par cette recherche experte et indépendante dans comment on peut se protéger comme institution, comme démocratie, mais que le Parti conservateur ne soit seulement intéressé à quelle carte avantage partisane qu'il puisse trouver dans un contexte aussi important que la défense de l'intégrité de notre démocratie, démontre à quel point ils ne sont pas sérieux dans leur désir de voir nos institutions renforcées et les réponses données de façon impartiale et claire.
Et mon deuxième question, second question, Prime Minister. Critics say whoever takes over as the next commissioner of the RCMP is doomed. Will your government consider making structural changes to the force as it looks for a new leader?
The RCMP has an extraordinary history in this country. As an institution, it has been as much wrapped up in the history and the culture of this country as any other. And the women and men who serve in the RCMP, as women and men who serve in police forces across this country, deserve the very best support, resources, governance, and tools to do their jobs. We are seeing, unfortunately, continued tragedies hitting police forces across the country, the most recent heartbreaking one in Edmonton. We know we need to have police services with all the right structures and supports to keep the women and men who protect Canadians safe themselves when they do their work. And we also know that from the Emergencies Act Commission report to the upcoming Mass Casualty Commission report in Nova Scotia, there are lots of experts leaning in and reflecting on the best way to ensure that Canadians are kept safe with the best possible policing right across the country. And as we move forward with the search for a permanent new commissioner for the RCMP, with an excellent interim commissioner that we've just announced today, I can assure you that we are very much looking at how to ensure that the RCMP can continue to offer the very best service to Canadians from coast to coast to coast. L'importance de la GRC comme partie de notre histoire, de notre culture, comme institution qui est importante pour tellement de Canadiens, a été soulignée de bien des façons au cours des dernières années. Mais nous reconnaissons aussi que la responsabilité et la vulnérabilité des femmes et des hommes qui servent dans nos corps policiers, que ce soit la GRC ou d'autres à travers le pays, méritent les meilleures ressources, la meilleure formation, le meilleur encadrement, la meilleure capacité de bien servir les Canadiens. On reconnaît qu'il y a beaucoup trop de tragédies récemment, d'actes horribles. On en a vu juste hier à Edmonton, où on a perdu 2 policiers. nous devons de nous assurer qu'on est en train de faire tout ce qui est nécessaire pour protéger pas seulement nos policiers, mais nos institutions. C'est pour ça, avec le nouveau chef intérimaire, avec le travail que nous allons faire vers un commissaire permanent pour la GRC, nous allons écouter les recommandations qui sont sorties de la Commission sur les mesures d'urgence, les recommandations qui vont sortir de la Commission sur la tragédie en Nouvelle-Écosse, qui va sortir dans les semaines à venir. Et nous allons écouter et réfléchir attentivement sur comment on peut s'assurer que la GRC et nos autres institutions policières soient bien équipées pour protéger les Canadiens d'un bout à l'autre de ce pays de la meilleure façon possible.
Next question.
During the public inquiry into the Emergencies Act, one of the responses you gave was really detailed and walked Canadians through what you were thinking before you made a big decision. So I was wondering if you could take that same approach to this question and tell us why you decided to appoint David Johnston. Did you consider this perceived conflict of interest?
Right now, a lot of Canadians have very, very real questions that are really, really fundamental. First of all, is our democracy still working? Are our institutions still acting in the best interests of Canadians, or are they being influenced by everything we know that foreign countries from Russia to China to others are trying to do to destabilize us? Are politicians getting the information they need from our security agencies in order to keep Canadians safe? And are politicians then acting on the best interests of all Canadians, or are they acting in their narrow self-interest? These are really, really important questions because they go to our confidence in our institutions at a time where people seem to be anxious, quite rightly, about so many different things, from the rising cost of living, to the war in Ukraine, to the aftermath and echoes of the pandemic, to the challenges of climate change. There are so many reasons for people to be really worried about a whole bunch of things. And if suddenly they can't even trust their governments to be looking out for them, that's a really serious thing. If I'm standing here making a housing announcement on how we're going to be building homes for Canadians right across the country, and Canadians aren't even sure if this government is really focused on their best interest or is in the pocket of some foreign government, that's something that needs to be dealt with extraordinarily seriously. And the partisan nature of politics means that no matter what I say, people are going to, wonder if they didn't vote for me, whether or not they can trust me. And that polarization is getting even more serious in politics these days. That's one of the reasons why, after 2015, when we saw increasing foreign interference in elections around the world, in the US election in 2016, in the French presidential election in 2017, we saw foreign interference taking up bigger and bigger space. So in 2018, when we hosted the G7 in Charlevoix, we created a G7 rapid response mechanisms to counter threats to democracy. And a year after that, we created a panel of independent top public servants informed by all of our intelligence community experts and reports to be able to reassure in real time Canadians if there was foreign interference going on during an election that was in danger of impacting that election one way or another. And in 2019 and in 2021, that panel did its work, and the work of that panel was analyzed afterwards in independent reports, and the conclusion is absolutely clear. even though there was and there is ongoing attempts at foreign interference by China into our politics, into our democracy, like into our businesses, into our research institutions, into diaspora communities. Attempts by interference by China did not affect the outcome of the 2019 and 2021 elections. That's something Canadians can be absolutely reassured by. But Canadians want to know even further, okay, are we doing everything necessary? And are there processes to hold people to account if things aren't being done necessary, if partisan decisions are slipping into that? That's why, in order to reassure Canadians, knowing that any elected politician from one party or another is not going to be able to speak in a way that has full reassurance for all Canadians, and everyone, regardless of who they vote for, deserves to have faith in the system within which they're voting. The decision to take someone of unimpeachable integrity to step back, to look at the entire landscape around national security, to have the security clearances able to dig deep into everything our spies and intelligence experts and analysts are saying, to dig into what the different parties knew, to dig into what the government was told, dig into what experts knew and didn't know, to highlight the work being done by two professional bodies or expert bodies that we created, the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, that is a bunch of MPs from all parties that have the necessary clearances to look into everything our intelligence communities are doing and have done, and NCIRA, which is a similar body that's formed of judges and experts to do similar work and oversight. All those things together actually make up a very robust array of mechanisms that this government and this country has to protect our institutions. And finding the right person of unimpeachable integrity, completely committed and devoted to Canada, to be able to look at that, to ask all the questions of everyone involved necessary, and come out and say, yes, the elections and the integrity held, but these are the things that could and should be improved. And this is the process going forward, and this is why Canadians can be comforted that things are being done right. Or conversely say, no, there's a real problem, the whole system is broken, we need to fix it. This is someone who's going to be able to say these things that won't and shouldn't be interpreted in a partisan way, because this is a serious issue that will impact whichever party is in power for many, many years to come. And making sure we're addressing this with deep seriousness and not partisanship is exactly why turning to an extraordinary, responsible individual who is nonpartisan, who can say these are the processes that is necessary, whether it's a public inquiry, whether it's a judicial review, whether it's just more empowering of the institutions that are there, whatever it is, coming from that person with the authority to do that and the ability to reassure Canadians, that's how you deal with a complex, difficult issue like this seriously. So my desire to step aside from the partisanship of this, the partisan advantage and sniping that unfortunately characterizes so much of our politics these days, where no matter how good an idea is, if it's brought forward by a political opponent, it must be wrong, is really harmful. Communities don't work that way. Canadians don't think that way. But in politics, it's gotten so polarized and toxic that we've had to take a step back and find someone who is the right person to say, okay, let's focus on the interests of Canada, of our institutions, of our country, and of Canadians. and let's look at everything that's gone on. Let's restore people's confidence above partisanship. And let's make sure we've got the best possible system moving forward. And that's why it's just so difficult to see that the official opposition in this country has chosen a very different tack, to decide to go full partisan on an issue that, quite frankly, needs to be taken with a level of seriousness and respect that Canadians deserve. Pierre Poilievre wasn't just a minister in the previous government. He was Minister of Democratic Institutions. He was in charge of the integrity of our elections. He was in charge at the time of making sure that China or others weren't influencing our elections. He understands how important this is, or he should. So I am really hoping that the nomination of Mr. Johnston is going to be able to bring down the temperature on this issue and demonstrate, as David has done throughout his entire life, that a level of seriousness and expertise and responsibility applied to a very, very important issue is the right path for Canadians and for our country.
Follow-up?
This is another question. Former Vancouver Mayor Kennedy Stewart says he would like to see investigations of China's interference in Canada's elections expanded to include provincial and municipal elections. Is this something the Special Rapporteur could be asked to do?
As we said many times, we are seeing the threats of interference by foreign countries in all spheres of Canadian life, in our politics, in our elections, but also in businesses, at all orders of government, in our research institutions, within communities, particularly diaspora communities. It's something we have to take seriously at every level. But I do want to pause on this issue around the Vancouver mayoral election. And I think I can speak to it in a way that people know that I don't necessarily have any skin in the game in that one, and there's no partisan interest for me in that particular context. I think we have to be very, very careful when little bits and pieces of uncorroborated, unverified information get put out and people instantly react with perspectives and reactions that can undermine the ability of the duly elected mayor of Vancouver to do his job, can undermine people in Vancouver's faith in the integrity of their elections, of their processes, and of the person who is serving them at the highest level. The impact on individuals who choose to step forward and serve their communities, like Ken Sims, being attacked by allegations that are incomplete and leaked that he can't even really respond to, is sort of an underscoring of the delicacy of these issues and of how they need to be treated with real seriousness. Yes, allegations that a foreign country is interfering in elections at any level need to be taken seriously. But if people jump to conclusions and start throwing around allegations, are not only harmful to an individual, it's also harming the very institutions, the integrity of our institutions and our democracies that we're trying to protect. If China and Russia and others are trying to destabilize our democracies, it's not even what they might do to impact the outcome of the elections that is the best way for them to destabilize our democracies. It's in undermining the fundamental confidence we all have in those institutions in the first place that can be most harmful to our country. That's why we have to be careful about respecting national security when we talk about allegations like this that are leaked out. But it's also why they have to be treated so seriously and so responsibly. And regardless of what political side you're on, looking for a short-term political partisan advantage in this is running the risk of doing the work of those who want to sow chaos within democracies for them. We have processes and experts and institutions that do the work in open and accountable ways that can and must deal with this. And I will tell you, as Prime Minister, I regularly get briefed on a huge range of intelligence and security concerns and flags right across the country. And any time I get briefed on any concerns or issue, my question is, well, what can be done about this? What needs to be done about this? Who is taking the right steps on this? And are they going to be brought in? Now, those steps don't always include talking about it on the front page of the newspapers. But there are steps and processes in place that do get taken throughout our institutions when there are concerns around integrity or interference. But impugning the reputation of the Mayor of Vancouver, impugning the integrity of our institutions, that's a very dangerous path to go on at a time where democracies are precarious as it is around the world. OK. Je vais ramener un petit peu. Je pense que la situation à Vancouver, qu'on voit avec le maire Sims, souligne à quel point il faut être très attentionné sur comment on va parler de ces allégations. Il y a des informations non vérifiées, avec des sources incertaines, qui supposent que peut-être il y aurait quelque chose ici ou là. Et les Canadiens commencent à peut-être avoir des inquiétudes par rapport à l'intégrité de leur maire actuelle à Vancouver ou de l'intégrité de leurs institutions. Et on voit à quel point, quand on parle d'enjeux de sécurité nationale, des enjeux délicats à ce niveau-là, on doit les traiter de façon sérieuse. On doit les regarder de façon responsable. Et on ne peut pas tout simplement sauter à des conclusions parce qu'il y aurait peut-être des allégations qui seraient venues de quelque part, qui diraient que peut-être ci ou peut-être ça. C'est l'impact que ça peut avoir sur nos institutions démocratiques est possiblement plus grande que la déstabilisation ou l'influence directe de la Chine dans nos démocraties. Si on arrive à un endroit où les Canadiens n'ont plus confiance dans leurs institutions, on a encore plus de déstabilisation ou de problèmes dans notre démocratie. C'est pour ça que je suis tellement inquiet de la façon que les partisans politiques sont en train de jouer avec ces informations incomplètes et incertaines. Et je peux vous rassurer aussi qu'en tant que Premier ministre, je reçois régulièrement de l'information, des renseignements confidentiels et experts sur la situation au niveau de la sécurité nationale à travers le pays. Et chaque fois qu'on me présente des allégations, des inquiétudes par rapport à un individu ou par rapport à une institution, j'ai toujours la même question. Qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire, qu'est-ce qu'on devrait faire pour assurer l'intégrité, la protection de cet individu ou de l'institution dans laquelle il sert? quelles sont les actions concrètes qui devraient être prises et qui peuvent être prises, et ensuite je m'assure que c'est fait. On a un système qui prend ces menaces-là et ces préoccupations-là au sérieux, et avec les experts qui se penchent sur ce système de façon constante pour s'assurer qu'on est en train de bien se protéger, les Canadiens peuvent et doivent avoir confiance dans nos institutions. Mais le bruit partisan qu'on est en train d'entendre maintenant vient miner la crédibilité de nos institutions et fait le travail de la Chine et de la Russie d'une certaine façon mieux que eux, ils auraient bien pu voulu le faire eux-mêmes.
Question?
Hi there, Prime Minister. Mark Perry from GuelphToday.com, Village Media. Last fall, the provincial government, of course, put in that letter wanting to get 1.5 million homes built by 2031. We heard from Mayor Guthrie earlier on today about how it kind of breaks down to the 18,000 here at the local level. Do you believe with something today that goal is attainable with those numbers?
Yes, I very much believe that goal is attainable. And our announcement today is about building new homes faster, especially affordable homes. If you take a step back for a second, you might think, oh, if we're going to you want to build new homes in this country? Well, simple. The federal government should just send $4 billion worth of 2x4s and screws so that these guys can get to work and build enough houses. That's not how you build homes in this country. As Cam said, what we're doing is actually giving municipalities the tools to be able to look at exactly what's needed to build more affordable homes here in Guelph and right across the country. Is it overcoming certain zoning restrictions and saying, okay, suddenly every lot can have 3 units on it, bam. Or anything within a 5-minute walk of a metro station or a subway station, you can build something up to 6 stories high. Or maybe it's on the other side of, well, the permitting process needs to be done instead of sequentially, needs to be done simultaneously on all these different levels. But that's going to take the municipality hiring a few more people to be able to do that. Maybe it's an issue around encouraging nonprofits and organizations like Stepping Stone to have more access to better planning, to be able to have more resources to put in more money for grants that will accelerate those sorts of things. Process is one of the big challenges on how to get things built. And it's not sexy. It's actually easier for someone like Polyev to say, we're just going to get rid of process. We'll get rid of the gatekeepers, and then people will be building homes all over the place. But that's not how the world works, and I think people know that. If you want to seriously increase housing supply and ensure that it's affordable, you've got to do everything at the same time. And a big part of it is trusting the experts in the municipalities who are there hearing from residents and community organizations saying, we need more homes, and figuring out how and where to build them. We need to turn to unions and construction industries and say, okay, where are your challenges there? Really, you've got a shortage of workers. We need to get more Red Seal laborers. We need to move forward on this. Okay, let's look at how we're doing on immigration. Let's look how we're doing in union training. Let's look at how we're making sure that you're able to do the jobs you have and support your families and live near enough your job sites to make it efficient. All these things. There is no one silver bullet on fixing housing. Man, oh man, our capacity to work together in real ways and make that change is something that I've seen time and time again from great partners like the municipal leaders here in Guelph. And that's why I know we are going to be able to do what we committed to and double the housing starts in this country over the next 10 years.
Follow-up?
As a follow-up, your Twitter account actually mentions that today's initiative is about about helping to create 100,000 new homes all across the country. How do you see this fund, I guess, evolving over the next several years? Do you perhaps seeing this turning into an annual thing that municipalities have to sign up for from now, perhaps till 2030?
Well, this fund is very much around accelerating processes and giving municipalities the tools that will allow them to move faster forward on processes that will outlast even this accelerator fund. Once things are accelerated, well, they will continue to go at that quicker pace. But I'm happy to turn to Ahmed, actually, for speak to the longer-term view on this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Prime Minister. The idea is to really incentivize faster processing and faster permitting of housing, but also faster delivery of housing, and more density, more livable communities, more climate resilient communities, more affordable housing, and making sure that all of that is put together in a plan that will be helped by the federal government to deliver that. And once you improve those processes, once you increase the capacity of local municipalities to do more and faster, and in a more comprehensive plan, the idea is that that will also lead to cultural changes that will outlast the life of this program. And this is not a one-year program, it's a 5-year program. So again, it shows commitment and long-term planning from our end, but also on the part of the municipal governments.